Hey everyone, this is Satnaam here from Alchemist Academy. Today, I'd like to talk about summarized spoken text in particular. As you know, that summarized spoken text actually carries your scores towards both listening and writing. It significantly impacts these two sections. The other key thing about this is it is the third most important thing for your listening scores in total. Now, before I delve any further into that, I want you to understand that every question of summarized spoken text carries 10 marks. These 10 marks comes from 5 different attributes, that is namely content, form, grammar, vocabulary and spelling. Each one of them carries 2 marks. Now, content carries 2 marks, but one very important thing about content is that if you get 0 in content in this task, there is no further scoring. Hence, I'm going to focus on how to develop your content recognition and how to get the most appropriate and the correct content. Alright everyone, so I'm going to play a real exam audio from our YouTube channel, which is Alchemist Academy. The audio is under the name Australian Cities. I will be sharing the link to our channel, so please listen to this audio and have a look. Alright, so I'm going to start playing the audio and let's have a look on how to do the notes and how to get the key information from the notes. One thing that I do want you to remember is merely writing 4 phrases from the audio is not going to help you get your 79. If you want a 79 or a 65, your answer has to be of good standard. Alright, so let's have a look how to do it.
Australia's location is important for the world's export, and its international trade is also very important. Since Australia has a large territory with vast, uninhabitable areas, all towns are scattered around. This leads to huge expenses for transportation when using trains and ferries. The government also have to pay large amounts for its telecommunications to build up the connection between these regions. The Australian people are mainly living in 5 cities: Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Brisbane and Adelaide. The most special one is Perth, which is one of the most isolated cities in the world. However, this does not affect its state to be one of the largest cities in Australia. Most large companies, like the 2 leading companies, Telstra and Qantas, they are both based in Perth.
Alright, the very first thing that you should do after listening to an audio is try to think what was the audio about. Now, one thing that I can think in general what they've been talking about is Australia's location or Australian cities. I'd rather say, let's say if I'm not too sure, you can write either one of them, Australian cities or Australia's location. Alright, so let's say if I say Australia's location, now try to break down your notes into 3 different parts so you can make 3 sentences from your notes. So I'm going to just probably break it down into, let's say, 3 parts from here. I'll just do it over here and I'll just make it here and I'll just make it here. Something like that. It's still not fixed, but I've just made it into 3 parts. First thing first, make a roadmap for yourself. Now the roadmap is, they said about Australia's location. Now what did he say in the beginning? He said that Australia's location is important. Why? It's important for its export and international trade. The next thing he also mentioned in relation to its location is that it has got a vast territory. That means it's got a huge territory. And what happens because of this huge territory? The towns are scattered. The towns are scattered. When the towns are scattered, it leads to huge expenses. Huge expenses for what? If you look, I have written over here, huge expenses for transportation and telecommunication. Okay, so just think about the key points like transportation and telecommunication. Okay, then the speaker was talking about how people are living in the 5 cities. Quite frankly, we live in Australia, so we don't need to spell them out. So I'll just use shortcuts over here: Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Brisbane and Adelaide, and you will mention that as well. What was the next thing that he said? He said that Perth is the most special one. So you mentioned the 5 cities here, and then you end up saying that Perth is the special one. Why is it special? Because it has got the 2 leading, it is the isolated and the largest, it is one of the most isolated and the most largest cities with companies like Telstra and Qantas. based there. Now, how do you construct an answer? I'm going to show you. I'm going to use our very own Alchemist AI and demonstrate how you should have been writing an answer. All right. So let's have a look on the AI. All right, everyone. So let's just use the same notes that we had. So we will just go with this. And I started by writing like Australia's location is emphasized in this lecture, and it states that its location is important for its international trade and export. This is what they said at the beginning of the audio. So I have the title here, Australia's location, and I've written some key points in regards to that. Okay. Moreover, it has large, let me see what else I have, uninhabitable territories with scattered towns, which leads to huge expenses for transportation and telecommunication. Okay. All right, which leads to huge expenses for transportation and telecommunication, because that's all I have. I don't need to mention trains and ferries because that would be too detailed. I would if I have the space at the end. Hence, people are living in people are living in cities like Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Brisbane, and Adelaide, while Perth being special one as it is isolated and largest, with Telstra and Qantas based there. Okay, now if you look at this, I've just written it really short. I've written Australia's location is emphasized in this lecture, and it states that its location is important for international trade and export. Moreover, it has large uninhabitable territories with scattered towns, which leads to huge expenses for transportation and telecommunication. Hence, people are living in cities like Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Brisbane, and Adelaide, while Perth being the special one as it is isolated and largest, with Telstra and Qantas based there. So I've tried to cover all my notes. I've not just copied 4 random phrases, because if I just do it, it will get you some marks. It's not going to get you the full mark because it does not cover the key idea. Let's just submit and see what scores we get. Okay. So I have a typing mistake. As you can see, my spelling's wrong. As it is isolated. Let's just have a look what is wrong with it. Like it's taken away some marks from here. So if you look at this, this is what I've done. And if you look at this, this is what the right spelling is. So both of them being typing mistakes, and I did not review my answer. However, I still got all the marks. Now, following Pearson's scoring guide, if you have one spelling mistake, you do lose some marks. Now, if you look at this, however, my content is full. So one of the most important things is make sure that you articulate your ideas in a proper way and write some meaningful sentences. Don't just emphasize on the keywords. So I hope that this content recognition video has helped you to understand summarized spoken text and you learned how to construct your summary. If you still have any further questions about summarized spoken text, or if you've got any difficulties with content recognition, feel free to message our main page on Facebook, which is Alchemist Academy. Alternatively, you can even search me on Facebook under the name Satnaam Singh, and you can find me and text me directly. You do not have to necessarily be an enrolled student. If you're taking the PT test, we want to make sure that you pass in your very first go. And good luck to all the test takers out there.